Hello, I'm Dr. Scott Watier.
And I'm Tommy Welling, and you're listening to the Fasting for Life podcast.
This podcast is about using fasting as a tool to regain your health, achieve ultimate wellness, and live the life you truly deserve.
Each episode is a short conversation on a single topic with immediate actionable steps. We cover everything from fat loss and health and wellness to the science of lifestyle design.
We started Fasting for Life because of how fasting has transformed our lives, and we hope to share the tools that we have learned along the way. Hey everyone, welcome to the Fasting for Life podcast. My name is Dr. Scott Watier, and I'm here as always with my good friend and colleague Tommy Welling. Good afternoon to you, sir.
Hey Scott, how are you?
Doing fantastic, my friend. If you are listening in for the first time this year and you're new to the podcast, we want to wish you a happy new year and a happy and prosperous and successful 2026. So welcome in if you're new. If you're a long-term listener and you're back on it after the holiday hangover, hope everyone had a wonderful holidays.
Yeah.
And I always joke every year, how long do we go into the new year and it's okay to wish someone a happy new year? We
Happy
talking
New
like
Year?
third week of January, first week of February. Don't really know, but we're doing it anyway. So wishing you...
I'm going all January and
All
then
January.
cut off.
All right, I
Yeah,
like
February 1st, I'm done. Yeah.
So today's conversation is going to be fun. If you want to know more about Tommy and I and our journeys with fasting, if you're new, head back to episode 0, episode 1, give it a listen. It'll give you some insight into why we do what we do and how fasting has been so transformational in our lives, and then the tens of thousands and millions of other downloads and listens and conversations and coaching clients and challengers that we've had over the last 5+ years of doing this.
Yeah.
Still fired up about it. Still haven't gotten bored talking about fasting. So today, in a timely fashion, as we are in the New Year's resolution time frame of January, the gyms are packed, etc.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to frame today's conversation as New Year's resolutions as an environment problem, not a willpower problem.
Ooh, I like that.
And here's something that we've kind of been working on in terms of how we've been communicating in our lexicon and our coaching, etc., is most New Year's resolutions die by February. Most people don't even set them anymore. And we talked about the most common New Year's resolutions are typically around working out, losing weight, eating better, and finances, right? Those are the top few that make up like 70%.
Sure. Maybe a relationship, marriage might be in there too, you know?
Yeah. But the top ones, those top 3 out of the 4 are typically health, weight, and fitness related, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But here's what we found is we typically will talk a lot about this concept, Tommy, of fasting island. So most resolutions die by February, or whatever resolution it is, you know, the whole gym analogy as well, when you get all the new people that show up and then all the regulars are back by February.
Right.
And the herd thins out. But typically, if you're setting fasting and weight loss goals, most of them, they die off by the end of January or February, and you're stuck on fasting island because you're trying to do something different in the same environment that created the problem.
Wow. What a way to frame that, because it, like the old adage, nothing changes if nothing changes. Mm-hmm. And so you're trying to stack on these new habits. You're trying to change the old, trying to build the new at the same time. But a lot of times it's like it's the same thing that you've been wanting to do. But if it was that easy to just do it, then you would already be part of your routine. But instead, it's not. It's a focal point. And I think anything that gives you urgency for a focal point is great. And we should be finding ways to leverage that kind of momentum, that lightning in a bottle right there, because it doesn't come around all the time. So it's not that you shouldn't, set a time-based goal just because it's the beginning of the year. My birthday is mid-January, and I love a good health-related goal, like urgency. I can feel that kind of momentum coming up to my birthday and immediately after that as well. So I love leveraging that. It's just that understanding that we all have a lot of moving parts during the day, and we have to kind of give a little bit of room for a new habit. We also have to start really, really small especially when you can't just flip everything on its head. So just starting really small and just building from something small and doable and tangible means that I need to give myself permission to like check the box mentally and say, yes, I did do that, so that I can also experience some of that gradual identity shift while I build that let's say it's a fasting muscle, or maybe it's a resistance training muscle, so that it's not like, hey, it's January, I'm trying fasting, but more like, hey, it's January, I've done a couple of weeks of 16/8s here. I'm becoming someone who fasts, rather than, oh yeah, I'm trying fasting in the new year.
Yep. And here's the reality. We always say that, you know, the holiday hangover, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not from an alcohol perspective, but just from the
hustle and bustle.
The hustle and bustle of the season, right?
Yeah.
So there is something, you know, the resolution hangover, where motivation is high, but follow through is fragile.
Wow. Yeah, absolutely.
Right. So how do we capture this? So we've started to talk in a different way of like fasting island kind of looks like, you know, your spouse isn't on board, keep bringing junk food in the house, or the convenient quick foods, the eating out, all of those different types of things. Mm-hmm. And you don't want to become the food police, right?
Yeah.
Or you do great during the week, but then the weekend hits. Or everyone at work thinks you're crazy because Jane's, you know, bringing all of her food for the day and then eating lunch and having her snacks. And so how do you handle that social construct or that environment, right? So when you're on Fasting Island and you're doing something different, we want to bring you into this new kind of construct that we've come up with, is the fasting village. Because we all have different scenarios that we deal with from a stress and busyness and overwhelm perspective. So how do we stay consistent? So when you're on Fasting Island, it's tough because you're swimming in a different direction that everybody else is. You're doing something different. So you're constantly hitting up against your lifestyle or your individual personalized kind of situation.
Resistance, you're having to say no more of the time, or people are giving you a hard time about saying no or not yet, or you just kind of feel that like everyone else is almost kind of judging what they're doing versus what you're doing. So It might be a jealousy, it might be a crab in the bucket kind of situation, or it might just be like a justification for them not doing something outside of their comfort zone. Seeing you do it can be like, it can be uncomfortable. They don't know how to predict your behavior as well. Feels like Jane is changing and I'm not really comfortable with it. Everyone likes, things to kind of stay the same, right? Status quo.
Yeah, and that's kind of like, as you change and shift, you notice. I mean, there's the studies out there. I think Dr. Mark Hyman was just on a podcast recently where he was talking about the 80% increased potential chance, might have been 76%. I can't exactly remember the numbers. It just came to me in real time, so I didn't look it up before we prepped for the recording. But he was just talking about how you have that 76 or 82 or whatever that number was percent chance of being obese or overweight if the people that you spend most of your time with, if your friend group and family group and social circles are in that category as well.
Absolutely. 100%.
So that's that environment, right, that we're talking about. So New Year's resolutions are more of an environment problem, not necessarily a will problem, because you set some big lofty goals for the year, a weight loss goal, a health goal, a blood sugar goal, a fitness goal. And I did this back in 2024 where my goals were, I pulled them up, were 1 time a week, 30-hour fast, 1 time a week, 24-hour fast, no food on Sundays for me most weeks, 3-day fast a month, and 5-day fast once a quarter.
Okay, yeah, I remember that.
And then it was 3 Peloton workouts, 4 sauna sessions, 6 ice baths, and then 4 days of working on some of these Peter Attia longevity metrics.
Yeah.
So dead hang for 2 minutes, air squat hold for 2 minutes, a farmer carry of your body weight for 2 minutes, a VO2 max testing, my DEXA scan from my visceral fat, wearing a CGM for a month just to kind of get a baseline, kind of like routine blood work.
Yeah.
Of kind of where I'm at for the year. And then I had a morning and evening routine, continuing my no alcohol journey. and then eating mainly carnivore. So if I'm looking back at those goals in 2024, I pulled up my old notes in my journal, and the things that stuck with me. So I did great for
2 years later.
For about 2 years later.
Yeah.
For about 6 months, I did great following those. And I'd say I was in the 80 to 85% range.
Nice.
But the longevity metrics, the dead hangs and the kettlebell holds and all that stuff, that's completely gone. But I did do the blood sugar. I did do the DEXA scan.
Nice.
And I've kept the weekly 30-plus hour fast and the weekly 24-hour fast either on Sunday or Monday. I've kept the 3 to 5 day fast once a quarter. I've kept the sauna. The Peloton workouts are gone and the ice baths are gone.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So just kind of taking stock at where we are. And I'm not going to say that any of those fell off because my willpower fell off, but it was because the environment changed. It got cold. We changed gyms. Our kids changed schools. My wife's clinic hours changed. So there are all these different moving parts to navigate. And it's just kind of looking back and reflecting on it. I was like, oh, wow. All right. Some of those things stuck.
Yeah. Which is really cool, because if you think about it, like none of those things were there at a certain point. So even just to project forward 2 years.
Or I was just picking and choosing or dabbling.
Yeah.
The paint by number method.
Yeah. But to say, if you went back to when you first set those goals, and I remember you and I having a conversation, and we were both picking out some of these for ourselves. And to say 2 years later, half of these will still be around. Would that feel like a win? You know, I think that you would have said yes, right?
100%.
Yeah. So then it kind of becomes like the other big thing that happens with New Year's resolutions is, as soon as something starts to slip, other things quickly start to slip too, because they're all linked together. Like, hey, it's like one big breaker switch, if you will. And as soon as one thing loses power, then the whole breaker shuts down. Like that whole block just goes dark. And so when you have a reason for each one of them, and then you're in independent control of each one of them, and you fight that urge to just let go of all of them just because something's not working, like winter came around and it got super cold and your cold plunges outside, and all of a sudden you're not doing the cold plunges anymore. Does that mean that the sauna has to go away? Does that mean that the dead hangs and everything else have to go away?
Right.
No, but that takes a little bit of a conscious thought, to keep some without all of them, right?
Yep. So the framework on the conversation we're going to have with the fasting lifestyle is, we want to. It's already mid-January, right? The gym parking lot's still full. If you're online, you'll see like challenges. New year, new you. Free challenges are on fire.
Sure.
But the scale's already starting to mess with people's heads.
Yeah.
And when we're talking about Fasting Island versus the Fasting Village, right? When we're looking at the Fasting Village, we'll share some you're in an environment where you've got proof that fasting is normal and effective, right? You've got built-in guardrails. You've got coaching and community and a calendar and commitments. And in those environments, you start borrowing belief and confidence from the group until your results start to stack up.
Wow. That's
so here we are.
Big. Yeah, during
right?
that period where confidence is at the lowest point that it will be. So you're
right?
borrowing the belief, borrowing the confidence. I love that.
Yeah, because the resolution hangover, again, is motivation is high, but follow through is fragile.
Mm-hmm.
So when we're looking at, the kind of the framework, we want to kind of go through what Fasting Island looks like versus what Fasting Village looks like. So most people are trying to do this alone, in your house, in your workplace, in your social circle, that kind of look at you like, oh, there goes Sally again, or there goes John again, right?
Doing that crazy fasting thing.
Skipping lunch, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to kind of try to... What was that?
Judging us.
Yeah. Being like, interesting. Until you get the results, and then they ask you what you do, and then you tell them, and then they still don't do it. But
right.
First 2 rules of fasting. So a little tongue-in-cheek here, but, instead of I'm going to do, we're going to kind of frame this out in a way, we had some questions and some things that have already come in like, hey, how do I set my plan for the year? Or, I'm already starting to like find that I had set this big, hairy, audacious goal for this year. And I'm already starting to fall off type kind of feeling.
Yeah.
So we want to talk about this concept of like, how do you keep the simplest version of fasting in your lifestyle changes that you can commit to and actually maintain that throughout the year? Not like my longevity metrics that fell off about 6 months into 2024. I did keep all the other good stuff, but those and the Peloton workouts, those just went away. You either get results or reasons. I'm not going to share my reasons as to why, aka excuses.
Right.
But it was beneficial. Made some great progress. Increased those metrics, and now we're into a different season, right? So here's what we want to kind of connect with is this idea of minimum effective commitment levels. So instead of I'm going to do OMAD forever, or I'm going to do whatever your fasting strategy is and how you're implementing it now, going through your new year, new you energy when motivation is high, right? You can shift it to like, for the next 30 days, I'm going to close my eating window by 7 p.m. Or I'm going to stop the weekend warrior behavior. Or for 30 days, I'm going to consistently hit a minimum of 16, 18, 20-hour fast 5 days a week, no matter what.
Yeah. I like those at least statements right there.
Right.
Because then that helps give you a default, a floor, a baseline, a foundation. Because when you have defaults, when you don't have defaults, then every choice becomes a debate. But when you have those defaults, then you can rely on those and go, I'm going to fast at least 16 hours each day. Or I'm going to fast at least 16 hours 5 days a week, let's say. And then from there, you can easily jump off of that and you can go to a 20-hour fast. You could do a full flame day if you're feeling like that's a good time and that's a good you have a good reason for that. But to set the default behavior means that you don't have to have that inner struggle, push-pull, debate with yourself, and you have a strong foundation to jump off from, especially when you're going and starting some new things. And that also helps to remove the likelihood that a bunch of habits will be kind of stuck together and then fall off and pull some of those new habits down with them, like we were talking about before.
And this is where the minimum effective commitment kind of comes in, right? So I love that construct, but we really want to focus on the identity shift, right? That foundational discipline, or the unconscious habits that kind of just stick with you throughout the year. So we want those small repeatable wins that are going to move you from, oh, I'm trying on off with my fasting lifestyle, to I'm simply someone who fasts. So your New Year's resolution or these big goals don't fail because it's not big enough, right?
Yeah.
You didn't set a lofty enough, outside of your comfort zone goal, right?
Yeah.
It fails because it's not broken down or small enough to be repeatable on your worst days or your most stressful times. So you need to pick a fasting promise or a fasting plan, this minimum effective commitment level, when you're tired, stressed, like ready to throw the baby out with the bathwater. The future you can still stay alive. You can still keep up and still moving towards that lifestyle that you're looking for in the future, if that makes sense.
It does, because you never have to go to zero on that particular goal or that particular action that you want to be achieving. And you mentioned identity just a minute ago. I think that when we typically set New Year's resolutions, they tend to be very lofty, or at least lofty relative to what we're doing now. Because hey, it's the new year. I want to do something exciting. I want to be excited about it. And if I can see myself doing this thing, it's very different from whatever I'm doing now. That's exciting to me. Because if I could just snap my fingers and just have a brand new habit that I know is going to lead me to a big result-based goal that I want for myself, that's very exciting. So that's that's good. The only thing is that when we set these lofty goals, we tend to need to take some big steps right off the jump, and we're kind of inviting ourselves to take some big steps. Again, nothing wrong with that. The thing that I want to highlight is that going from wherever I am now to wherever I am on January 1st, doing this new thing that I haven't done before, or it feels very different from what I'm used to, then that can lead to a self-image mismatch where I almost kind of feel like an imposter right now. And maybe I have the motivation to kind of maintain those habits for some length of time anyway. But still, I didn't give myself time to adjust and to normalize with some level of those habits that are less weird and crazy and different from what I was doing before. So so minimum effective commitment means that I can wade into those waters, and I don't have to stay at, 10% for very long. I can keep ratcheting it up, but it means that instead of just swinging for the fences and then I feel like an imposter, I can just start walking in that direction very quickly. And then I can always walk faster, and then I can start running as well. But going from 0 to 100 to try to do a full out sprint in a certain habitual direction, if you will, can lead us to a self-image mismatch that we quickly kind of come back from, swinging the other way.
Yeah, and this is we don't want you to restart. So we had a message that came in. It's like, I've restarted the last 3 years in January after the holidays, right?
Sure,
Made some progress, but here I am again restarting. This can happen on a week-to-week basis. Great, Monday through Thursday. Weekend happens, and you find yourself restarting those changes you want to make on Monday. This happens in any diet, health-related avenue, right?
Sure.
We've all been there. So we kind of want to bust this myth of the new plan, right? So if you've been on the restart train, if it's weekly, monthly, yearly, because we want to really leverage the mindset shift around this time of year, is it's not that you haven't found the perfect plan, it's that the old environment drags you back to the old identity.
Sure.
So we've got this concept of friction to quit. And you want to make it harder to quit or harder to not stick to your fasting plan, or harder to, I'm just going to eat lunch tomorrow, but you find yourself eating lunch that next day, or you're like, I'm going to fast today, and then next thing you know, you're at the taco truck for lunch with your coworkers.
Right, or snacksidents,
right? Or the donuts in the break room, or whatever it is. You want to make it harder to quit than to keep going. So a few simple levers are pre-decided fasting schedule. That's why we release a fasting schedule inside of our coaching every single week. That's why we do the challenges. We got one starting tomorrow. It's not too late. Yes. Really leveraging the fasting village versus the fasting island. So that pre-decided fasting schedule, a little bit of planning goes a long way. Have a check-in with yourself or with a fasting buddy or with the fasting group or with us. And you need some form of accountability, right? Because that environment, that fasting village, is on the same plan you are. You're not the outsider on the outside looking in anymore, the crazy person doing something different, right?
Yeah.
So we want to look at the extremes versus truly what gets lasting lifestyle change and ultimately health and weight loss and longevity, vitality, etc., is really the concept of consistency. So you don't need a more extreme version of fasting to undo what you haven't been doing well, or for reparations for the last couple of months through the holidays. You need more boring consistency with just a slight uptick to what you were talking about earlier, Tommy, in the minimum effective commitment category. Is you need a slight uptick in the uncomfortableness just outside of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
So you don't need the more extreme version. You need more of the boring consistency and really not the big plan, but you need to somehow make it harder to quit than to keep going, if that makes sense.
Yeah, or even harder to revert back to old habits too. And when you do that, you really do need to leverage your environment, your environmental game whether that's, making a small change to your morning routine, maybe adjusting the order of operations even in the
Yep.
morning can be helpful and supportive of
Yep.
getting good salt and hydration in the morning versus just kind of wandering over to make the tea or to the coffee that, is that you're really looking forward to. Well, sometimes we need to flip those on their head so we have the
Mm-hmm.
right motivator, and the right sequence of action to actually support other more, lifestyle conscious and fasting conscious decisions later on in the day. And so that's an environmental optimizer right there. And if you think about your self-talk, really the things that we say to ourselves every day, whether they're, they're looking back at what we did yesterday or, what we want to do today, most of our self-talk is kind of like that. That's us on an island. So really we do need to leverage like other more helpful, encouraging conversations. And like you mentioned too, accountability, Scott. So just hearing a conversation like this and replaying it in the background, even just for a few minutes on, when you're looking to get more steps in the day, or maybe looking to do more post meal walks. I mean, a good goal for me that 10 years ago you wouldn't have been able to convince me that this was a good New Year's resolution. But
Right.
if I just said 3 days out of the week, I want to take at least a 10-minute walk after dinner, I would have looked at you like you were insane, because I needed something lofty to give me
Tommy,
the
you're speaking my
juice.
language, man. Ask my wife. Like, the one thing she dreams of is like when I'll be willing to do family walks.
Yeah.
Like, just, like, yeah. But guess what?
So helpful.
It is. It's so incredible. And we are doing some. But to your
Hmm.
point, it's like, because the thing is, you've already proven you can start, right? Multiple
Right.
times. If you're having
Hmm.
the restarting problem, the new year, new you problem,
Yeah.
you've already proven to yourself that you can start. This year,
Great.
we want to make it about proving you can stay.
Mm.
So if your plan depends on you being perfect, that's a bad plan.
Yeah, it's not going to work.
So how do you avoid? I think this is what happened to me back in 2024. I had a lot of stuff that I rattled off there earlier,
Right.
right? And we just speak from transparency, right? Because we're on this journey with you.
Yep.
Is the all things in January plan leads to the burnout.
Mm.
So like,
Good
how
point.
do you handle what you were just talking about, Tommy? Those simple things. How do you like not want to do all things at once at the beginning of the year when the motivation is high but the follow through is fragile?
Hmm.
Right? So, how do you stick to your fasting plan? How do you get to the gym? How do you track your protein because you want to prioritize protein? How do you get your steps in? How do you increase your water? Like all of these different things. So, you want to stack these habits in the beginning. So, you're going to start with fasting, and then you add in one or two supporting habits, like you just mentioned, a post meal walk.
Hmm.
Not every day. Set a bar you know you can hit that's slightly outside of your comfort zone,
Okay.
right? Maybe sacrifice the Monday night football game going on the TV as the game starts and you get out to dinner, even though it's dark and cold. You get out and you walk, or you get a walking pad. Like
Hmm.
fasting plus one supporting habit, like focusing on your hydration before coffee, or your electrolyte supplementation, or walking post meal. And you stick with that just for January, the rest of January into February. And once you get that down and it becomes boring,
Yeah.
then you add in something else. Then you can add in some more strength training. You can add in some more specific tracking of your protein. You can add in using, apple cider vinegar before your meals. Like you can start to build this threshold for your minimum effective commitment. You're going to be building the floor, which then becomes your ceiling, and then that new ceiling is now your new floor if you do this habit stacking correctly.
Yeah, and then you can layer by layer, you can add those things that are, they're like fasting lifestyle adjacent, or maybe fasting lifestyle supportive. Some of them are directly related to, your energy balance and your insulin levels, and regaining more insulin sensitivity. Some of them just feel good, and they help you to feel good, or they help you get a consistent stream of like, I am a person who makes good, healthful, conscious decisions. because when you're feeling like that's who you are, then every other like specific decision that you need to make, whether it's prioritizing protein, setting your fasting timer even when you really just don't feel like it, or you're about to do a shorter fast and you don't feel like you need to, but at the same time, if you really took a second, would you really want to rob yourself of the dopamine hit and the building that trust muscle with yourself in order to just set a shorter fasting time? Like, why rob yourself of that opportunity? Even though you might not quote unquote need it, it could still be helpful and reinforcing within your fasting lifestyle. And for minimum effective commitment to your example, piggybacking off of that Monday Night Football, what if you set a new standard for yourself to arrange your actions to support your fasting lifestyle, where you said, you know what, I'm not going to cut down on any of those times where I sit down in front of the TV to, binge my favorite show or watch a game, whatever the case may be that resonates with you. But maybe I don't sit down until after I've done my walk, at least a 10-minute walk, whatever the case may be. So you have a small effective commitment that happens before the thing that you're going to want to do anyway. So then now you're arranging the actions to actually give you positive reinforcement and reinforce your lifestyle at the same time, if that makes sense.
Yeah, 100%. So when we're looking at this kind of reframe, is typically you don't fail with your plan because you're undermotivated. You fail because you're overcommitted to unsustainable strategies. Right? So you have this big goal. Now we need to reverse engineer those smaller checkpoints. We need to zoom in and build those foundational habits. Right? So when you're on Fasting Island, people are kind of like, well, what are you doing? Oh, that's interesting. Right? So the pantry, the break room, the calendar, the social life, all that stuff kind of pulls you back. And you rely purely on your willpower, the I will or I won't power in those moments. Now, episode 125, one of our most listened episodes of all time, we talk about willpower and won't power versus what you want power, because it is finite. It does run out. Willpower is, you don't have an endless supply. And then the fasting village kind of feel, or this environmental support that you have, is your fasting calendar, your schedule, your kitchen, your community. The people that are on the same journey as with you are aligned with your goals, right? So you're not the only one fasting. You're surrounded by people who have accepted that this is normal and that it's proven. And you borrow that belief, strategy, and mindset from the people that are ahead of you on that journey. Because my good friend, Dr. Justin Mosley, 2-time TEDx speaker, he does a talk and he says this. He goes, the person that you are best suited to help is the person that is on that step behind you on your journey. Because you're just one step ahead. You can offer encouragement. You can be there and be like, hey, I've been there. And this is what we do on every single Monday inside of our coaching, is we have a Monday kickoff call. And we literally just share the weekly check-ins, the wins, the ahas, the struggles, because it's real.
Yeah.
So you don't feel alone, and you know that you actually are on the right path for you, regardless of what the noise outside sounds like.
Yeah, because sometimes the environment can be like, you walk into the gym and it might be January. It could be any time of the year, but especially like January, you might feel like you're kind of physically at your worst, for where you want to be. You have big lofty goals for yourself, but then you're walking in and you're seeing some of the folks around you who are at their best. They've been at it for a long time, highly committed, and it's kind of like, oh man, all of a sudden you can feel like an imposter. The same thing can happen within fasting groups, where you kind of sometimes, just like social media, see the highlight reel, where it feels like, hey, I'm struggling. I'm on a 16-hour fast here and I'm struggling. It doesn't necessarily have to be a 48-hour fast where you're struggling. And then all of a sudden somebody else is like, they're kind of, they may not mean to, but sometimes they can kind of kick you while you're down, telling you're not doing it, the perfect way, or it's not the ultra clean fast, or, kind of showing their highlight reel while you're feeling like, you've dove off the wagons, in a ditch somewhere. And it can be that can be really, really tough. And all of a sudden, your environmental game is like, wow, it's just another factor hitting you when it's already like tough to build these foundational habits. So when you take the right approach, as far as this is about me, my minimum effective commitments, and me just being a little bit better than I was yesterday, then that starts to give you some resiliency. But it's really, really helpful to be in the right environment where you can borrow that confidence, and instead of some of that confidence being robbed from you, like, you're going in and then you kind of fall into the comparison trap, right?
Yeah, 100%. So we want to kind of have this conversation just as it is the New Year's resolution era, right? And we know what the stats say, and we know that it doesn't work. And we truly want to build this out as a foundational fasting lifestyle for you. And that's why we say, if you're new or old, you're an OG, a listener, we're figuring this out together, right? And that's why we give you the shout outs. When you leave us a review or you send us a message, like Joseph sent us a message in. Just wanted to thank you for the podcast. It's very refreshing to see I've reversed most of my chronic condition thanks to diet and lifestyle changes, and most importantly, my routine fasting.
Wow. Routine. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So as we wrap up today, Tommy, just kind of a summarizing statement for me here is, this year doesn't need to be about finding a new year, New Year's resolution. It can be about finally giving the real you a chance to show up. One fast, one decision, one day at a time. So as we go into this new year together, you don't have to white knuckle it alone on Fasting Island, right? So consider this podcast your home base, your village, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
And just remember, sustainable change is possible. You're absolutely worth the effort that it takes you to get there.
Wow.
Right? And if you want more support, that's why we're doing our challenges. That's why we do them 8 times a year.
Mm-hmm.
One starts tomorrow. If that's you can head to the show notes. You can click the link. There's questions, registration, all the dates, details, and all the stuff you need to join us there. We would love to have you. We had an amazing challenge right before Thanksgiving as we wrapped up 2025.
Yeah. Yep.
And we've really tried to tailor the conversations this year about making those sustainable changes, getting you off of Fasting Island and getting you into the fasting village, Tommy.
Yeah, beginning with the end in mind, so that 2026 can absolutely be the best year yet, with a sustainable foundation of habits that you can lean into, see big, hairy, audacious results for yourself finally, and stay that way. Keep it that way and maintain a level of control where you can continue to level up and stack things from there, because that's how we're always going to do these things, beginning with the end in mind. So absolutely, it's going to be great.
Yep. Fasting for life is not a misnomer. It was intentional, right?
Yep.
So we are on this journey with you. We're excited for 2026, wishing you all an amazing, happy new year. And we got some really cool things coming up this year. So, Tommy, as we wrap up today's conversation, man, I appreciate the conversation as always. Hopefully it will be impactful for you guys listening in. Let us know how we can help, and we will see you next week.
Cool. Thank you. Bye.
See ya.
So, you've heard today's episode, and you may be wondering, where do I start? Head on over to thefastingforlife.com and sign up for our newsletter, where you'll receive fasting tips and strategies to maximize results and fit fasting into your day-to-day life.
While you're there, download your free Fast Start guide to get started today. Don't forget to subscribe on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure to leave us a 5-star review, and we'll be back next week with another episode of Fasting for Life.